So as your energy healer, you might think it's a little bit odd that today I'm going to have a little chat with you about not healing. But this is something that has really been on my awareness recently, and it's been bothering me the way a lot of us are using the concept of healing in a way that's actually really damaging us. So this video is going to be a little bit different in that I really just want this to feel like an intimate chat between you and I. And I'm not actually going to be doing any healing, energy healing on you until I tell you what you need to hear right now. So once I've given you my message that is specifically for you, and I tend to be incredibly helpful as you go on to this next part of your journey in this lifetime. So after I give you my information that's meant for you, that's when I'll do a little healing on you to recenter you and get you even more grounded in exactly what I mean by not healing. And a lot of the work that you and I have done together so far, I have mentioned, I'm sure numerous times, that healing is not a destination. It is something that we're always growing as humans. It's not like we ever get to a certain age or a certain stage of our life and it's like, I did everything. I cleaned up all of my emotional trauma. I've gotten everything that I ever wanted to get, and now I'm just gonna sit back and relax and do nothing. It's funny because we as humans, we're so not built for that. We're not built to reach like a final stage, because that would just feel like a plateau. We would get there where we're so non-reactive to everything, nothing would impress us anymore, nothing would be interesting to us anymore, and we would just be like floating above everyone, and we would be terribly, terribly depressed. So when I say that you're never going to be fully healed, and that healing is a process that we all go through for our whole lives, that's what I mean by that. That there's no destination, there's no final arrival where you get to just never be affected by anything anymore. But here's the flip side of that I haven't talked to you specifically about yet. And that is, the flip side is we can often think of healing as this like heavy thing that we have to focus on, that we have to like put all of our like energy and do the work and like really buckle down and focus on ourselves and not allow ourselves to move forward to the next thing we're supposed to be doing because we think that we haven't healed enough yet. This specifically is what is bothering me so much recently. It's like being in a perpetual, constant state of healing has become an identity instead of a bridge to get you from one stage of your life to the next stage of your life. You're not meant to be holding yourself back because you perceive that you still have a wound that's too active, or whatever you want to call it, or holding yourself back because you still notice that you're afraid of the things you want, or holding yourself back because you just generally don't think that you're good enough yet. And so you keep thinking, well, I just need to do more healing. I just need to do more healing. I just need to do more healing. And it's so silly because we can use the concept of healing to to actually become a part of the wounds or the limiting beliefs or the stagnant energy that we're actually trying to get out of, we will perpetuate staying in that stagnancy because we have this idea that we're not healed enough. So here is the big truth that I want to lay down for you today, because for whatever reason you need to hear it right now. You will never be ready for the things that you are worth, for the things that you deserve, for the things that you want. As humans, we're always going to feel a little bit behind of the next thing we need, because we need to physically put ourselves in the situation to start engaging with that thing, to start feeling ready for it, if that makes sense. And I know you have your own examples from your life. Like, you get out of college, you have to get your first big boy or big girl job, and of course you still don't feel ready, even though, you graduated college and you have a degree. But even though you don't feel ready for that first big boy or big girl job, you still get it. You still go after it. And that applies to the emotional, spiritual, and even mental levels of progress in your life. You don't feel perfect about something and then do the thing. That so very rarely happens. And usually if we make a lateral, a sideways move like that, where we already feel super, super confident about something, and it's so easy to go over to it, it's not actually a growth move. It's, like I said, it's a lateral move, and nothing wrong with that. We do that sometimes too in our lives. But I'm specifically talking about the people, which again is you, who are holding themselves back emotionally, spiritually, and very much physically, because they're waiting to be healed enough, to be ready, to be worthy, to be whatever it is. And I'm telling you, you will never feel ready until you go there. You have to go there to the thing you want. First, you have to just redirect that you are ready, redirect that you are worthy. And that's part of the reason I focus on that so much in these videos, of reminding you how much you are loved, how much you are worthy, how safe you are, how totally perfectly equipped you are. And I tell you all the time that you are this beautiful, extremely unique, divine, exquisite piece of manifestation from God and from the universe. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke off your ass. I'm saying it because it's so, so true. Your specific body, your specific manifestation of being that you have right now, it has never existed before, and it will never exist again after you go. And obviously there's concepts like reincarnation, but even if you came back in another life, that would be a totally different manifestation of physical form and physical life. So I'm talking about right now. You are this divinely inspired, it's unique and special that you've survived to this point. It just is, if you think about it. I laugh because it blows my mind when I think about it, that we all just sort of take our lives for granted. But when you have moments that put it into perspective, just how special and interesting and unique, I don't know what other words to use, that you are in this life right now, it just blows my mind. And you already have everything that you need. That's also something I want to point out about what real healing is. Real healing, and the work that I'm trying to do with you, is constantly redirecting you back to your own center, back to your own inner knowing, your inner compass that already is fully equipped to do what you were meant to do in this life. There's nothing that's that's part of your desire and part of your skills that's like a useless desire or a useless skill. Every little part of you is manifested because you are meant to have that desire and meant to have that skill and meant to help and connect with others in a very specific way that's very specific to you. And sometimes your wounds are a part of your gifts. I actually very recently had a personal experience of that, and I'll just tell you really quick because it's still so fresh that part of it is like a little bit embarrassing, but it's valuable to tell. That I have a really old rejection wound. I also have a really old abandonment wound, and those are common. And it's also common that those two kind of go together. Like, first you're rejected, and then you're abandoned, and that's like how it goes. So recently, my rejection wound was triggered in a way that I don't even remember going to the emotional depths and pain that I went to in like years and years and years. I thought that I had healed, like fully healed, that rejection part of myself. And when I was so triggered in that way that I was like spiraling, I was fully in the storm. Like I wasn't in a place that I could even be redirected for a couple days because I was so just in the storm. And that's kind of what wound triggers are. They're storms that come and they feel really heavy and scary. But if you are super, super gentle with yourself and you don't give it more attention than they actually need, and this will feed into my next part, the wind of the storm eventually blows out. And for me, it was like a couple days of being in a really rough spot, but then realizing some new information about myself, that I still have my rejection wound, and that that's totally okay. I'm not meant to fully erase my rejection wound, and it's not as important as we are led to believe that we need to like totally be, totally fixed. We need to have the most healthy attachment, styles, and we have to no longer be anxious or avoidant, and we have to be like perfectly aligned and non-reactive all the time and never be angry, or all of those things that we can kind of falsely shame and delude ourselves with. But what I learned kind of through channeling while I was in the midst of my rejection storm, I heard from a guide of my own, or maybe my higher self, I'm not sure which, that it's important that I have my rejection wound, because I was like pissed about it. I was like angry, like heal this thing. And that my gift, a lot of my gift, what I'm doing with you right now, is intermingled with my rejection wound, and that's totally okay. That's a big part of the human experience for a lot of us. So it doesn't mean that we need to heal every little thing. It doesn't mean that we need to, I guess actually what I want to say is the key point that I learned is lessen the importance of the things that you don't like about yourself. Because me wanting my rejection wound to be totally erased so that I could be perfect and never react to anything, again, that idea that I want it to be erased comes from a part of me that is self-rejecting, that it won't accept certain parts of myself and won't accept my own wounds. So obviously there's a piece about acceptance and self-acceptance in there, but the powerful piece that I think is so important and that will make your healing so much easier is lessening the importance of whatever you perceive your wounds or your limiting beliefs or your traumas or whatever you want to call it. Different people prefer different words for describing, past emotional patterns that still play out today. So lessening the importance, and by doing that, all you need to do is whenever you notice something you don't like coming up, like a negative thought pattern, an emotional reactivity that you feel like isn't right or something, all you need to do is just gently redirect. Just say, okay, that's interesting, and just redirect. to what you want. And that is also why I include a lot of manifesting and affirmations in my healings, because that gives you something to go back to, kind of a pillar. And it's been so helpful for me, I know, in my own life to do affirmations and kind of think of things in a manifesting perspective, because it gives you something concrete to focus back to. There's nothing more real about your wounds than what you choose to redirect to. Sometimes the wounds feel more real because they're so patterned into you, but just because you have a thought that is a certain way, it's just a thought. You can redirect it with another thought that's just as valuable and just as powerful. It's not as hard. It doesn't need to be as hard as we make it, because when we feel that old patterning come up and we're like, oh no, the old stuff is coming back, that's going to give more power to the old stuff that doesn't actually have that much power. It has as much power as you give it. So lessening the importance of old stuff. So I have talked a lot. Let me think if there is something else that I wanted to say. The main thing I want you to take away from this is, please don't hold yourself back anymore because you think you need to do more personal work, more healing, more therapy. You don't. You are already ready for the next thing, and by staying in this constant state of identifying with being broken and needing healing is what is keeping you in stagnancy. It's not actually the wound or whatever that's keeping you in stagnancy. It's the desire to constantly fixate on healing it that's keeping you in stagnancy. So a lot of those wounds, limiting beliefs, whatever, they will naturally lessen in their power, in their importance, in whatever you want to call it, the more you redirect to what you consciously choose is important. You are a conscious creator. You get to form your perspective and your reality in whatever way you would like. You really can. That's what's so amazing about our brains. They're powerful and automatic, but when we don't like one automatic function, we can more easily than we realize, with a redirection, constant redirection, we can choose another way. And sometimes, like I said, it is mentally choosing to think differently, but often it's just doing the physical action that you know you need to do that is going to help you along your path. It's either quitting the job that you hate, that you refuse to quit until you feel like perfectly good about it. It's the, putting yourself out there to date, or to let that person in that you love, that you won't fully let them in because you think that you're not good enough and you still need to heal before you can fully be in a committed relationship. It's so many things. It's taking a trip. Maybe you've always wanted to travel. Maybe you've always wanted to take a risk to, go to Europe for 3 months or something, and you just keep putting it off because you think, I'm not there yet. I'm not healed enough yet to do that. And I'm telling you, that feeling is never going to go away until you just take the action and do it. So now let me do a little bit of healing, a redirection, an energy redirection with you. Is that okay? Okay. So I'm actually just going to stand here right in front of you. You are not broken. You have never in your entire life been broken. You are having a human experience, just like all the other humans having a human experience. You're having a human experience that has some ups in it, some downs in it, some really amazing days where you feel like you could take on the world because you feel like And then you'll also have some days where you feel more alone than you'd like to feel. And on those days, you won't really be sure what you need or what to do. And every single human on this planet has those days. So the irony in that is that on the days that we feel really alone, we're actually never alone. Okay, I'm going to come over to your side here and just run down your front and back at the same time. Starting over your head. And then just running down, 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 down. You have always been whole. You have always been exactly who you were meant to be. Even on the days that you made mistakes. Even on the days that you felt like you fell short. You were still growing. You were still exactly where you were meant to be on your journey. Again, just like all the other humans. Okay, I'm going to come over to this side. Let me just feel your sixth chakra in your mind first. I really want you to release any emotions that you feel connected to this idea that you needed to be healed enough or better or more whole. Because I think for you specifically, I don't think that you realized just how much you were holding on to unnecessarily about you perceiving yourself as broken and needing more healing, needing more answers. You don't need any more intellectual answers. It's okay to ask for support because you were meant to ask for support. But you don't need anything outside of yourself to take just the next step in front of you that's meant to be a part of your path, that's meant to help you. You can do that. You can do what's next on your journey, what's meant for you next. Okay. All right. You are so, so loved. I will always remind you of that. I'll tell you 1,000,000 times until it sinks in a little bit more and a little bit more. Because you truly don't get it yet. You don't get that part yet. And that's okay. You don't need to get it to keep moving. But just how loved you are, it's like unfathomable to the human mind how loved we are. Me, I've only had like 2 moments in my life where I really deeply felt the explosion within me of how loved I was. And it was like I was a different person to feel that kind of love within me. So that's what I mean when I say you don't fully comprehend the whole how loved you are thing. And that's okay. You don't need to. But it is very, very good to remember that you're loved, that you are the creator of your reality, and that you have everything you need to create that reality in a way that's a perfect match for what your journey the center within you that has always existed, that has never been broken and never